Whether it's the Jazz, Utes, Cougars, or Aggies, these guys have got you covered.
Time to eat, fellas.
You're locked on to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
1, 2, 3, move it.
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jacob Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Want to remind you, don't miss your chance to win big every week on the KSL Sports Zone. Listen on Wednesday for a Win Ticket Wednesday, all day for your chance to win. All right, let's get out to the Zone phone. Joining us now, my co-host for Jazz Pre, Half, and Post, usually, except for last night. And he's nice enough to jump on with us on Tuesdays. He's our buddy, the Coach Tim LaComb. What's going on, Coach?
Well, make sure that you were the one that didn't show up.
Yeah,
you
to
made
be
it sound
fair.
like I was. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Tim was the co-host last night.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah,
It was
I was
me.
assigned a new pal. It was
No,
like the
you're right.
mission Field.
Oh, you like JP. Come on. He does a good
I love
job.
JP.
Yeah,
No, I believe me. I love JP. He's terrific.
I'm assuming it went well.
Well, it went to overtime, which you dodged one there. We were chuckling about that, Jamil and I. Because,
Yeah, I don't like
your-
overtime. Yeah.
Your love for overtime is well chronicled. No, but it went fine. Yeah, the actual show itself, we had a good time.
But yes, it was
And
me
Mike
who
stopped
was not
by.
there. Oh, Mike did, huh?
Yeah, Mike stopped by. It was a road game, and he came in, and we had a nice chat. 15, 20 minutes there in the first segment, and got a lot of good stuff done. But we missed you.
Well, okay. By what I would imagine are the Jazz's standards, and some of this is based on what Justin Zanuck said at Media Day, which was this is a youth movement. This is a team that is going to play the youth a lot, and you're going to see them out there, and the Jazz want to see what they can do. Based on that proclamation, and I think the belief that it's fair to say that the Jazz would like to add another very high lottery pick to this roster, 41 games into the season, you had a group of exclusively young players, essentially, competing with a bunch of vets in New Orleans, and the Jazz still own the worst record in the Western Conference and they are tied for the second fewest wins in the NBA this season. I would have to think that the Jazz feel pretty happy with where they are right now and how the season has gone. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right, and I think last night was hard because it was a game that those young guys for 2.5 quarters played really, really well, and as is always in the NBA, the vets still have a little bit something left, and CJ just went crazy in the second half. And the Jazz, and Will talked a little bit about it. I mean, those are great opportunities. That game gets tight. You have to figure out how to execute, and we talked about it a lot on the post game. That's where the veteran nature of C.J. McCollum having done that so many times, DeJounte Murray having done that so many times, Trey Murphy, who's a guy right now who's having kind of a renaissance. He's becoming the guy that everybody thought he could be. All those guys really just made plays, and the young guys for the Jazz played hard but came up short. And, to your point, they still have 10 wins. When you turn on Tankathon, I think they have 52% chance at the top 4 pick and a 15% chance to be the recipient of the number 1 pick as of right now. And there's a lot of water still to go under the bridge. But to your point, young guys played. Young guys had the opportunity to win or lose the game. And, the Jazz are in a pretty good place.
You have a pretty good understanding when it comes to player development, but at the same time, you're kind of an optimistic guy. So that's why I like asking you about this stuff. But if you were to describe Isaiah Collier's development, would you say he is not meeting expectations, or exceeding expectations?
I think that he, if you were to timeline it, I saw the stuff that he's now really showing nightly in his tape, but you really had to dig for it in college. He was not in an optimal situation for a point guard to be in, with multiple guys on the floor that couldn't shoot, very turnover prone. The whole thing was just a very difficult situation for him to excel. And I think what the Jazz saw in some of that stuff was his elite vision, his physicality, his ability to get by his initial defender, And for the most part, even in the situation last year, while his turnovers were high, he made a lot of plays. And so I think coming into this year, we saw that early. We saw a guy who was hell-bent on getting to the middle. Stop me if this sounds like Colin Sexton. Hell-bent on getting to the middle. And, it was really kind of flip a coin when he made his decisions. And, man, that has really changed. He had a game last night with 11 assists and 4 turnovers. 2 of them came pretty late. But between he and Keyonte, they've really found kind of a cool way to play with each other and play off each other. The 2 of them, adding Keyonte's 7 assists and no turnovers last night, you really see growth. And so I think that he is both exceeding expectations in terms of the timeline. I think he's way out ahead of schedule, but that's come from being able to play and getting reps. I don't know that anybody's necessarily that surprised, because I think the Jazz really knew what they had when they took him, and he's showing that now nightly.
I've been really impressed with Keyonte's ability to play off guard, which I think is his natural position. And even Danny Ainge said at the end of last year he didn't know if Keyonte was a natural point guard. His assist numbers seem to be, or he seems to be getting better assists playing shooting guard than he did as a point guard. What do you think that is that you're seeing from him?
Well, it's such a different thing, and Will alluded to it a little bit. I mean, as a point guard, and when you're the guy that's kind of tasked with that, it's a communication role, kind of like the middle linebacker in football that wears the head, is able to hear the sideline or the quarterback. They're the one that's out there. Really, it's important for them to relay messages, to make sure guys are understanding matchups. There's a lot more to it than just dribbling the ball up and getting the ball to where it needs to be. So I think some of that for Keyonte has been nice to not have all of that. And then he's really learned from the experience. His reps playing starting point guard in this league, albeit some nights were really tough. He really got manhandled. I think he's learned, how to play that position off the ball too. And what Isaiah does for him is, instead of Keyonte being the guy that's got to break the defense down, he's a recipient now of a skip or a direct pass, which the defense is now closing to him. They're not set. And so what Keontae's done great is being able to attack those closeouts, and then with the experience he's gained playing the point, then it's decision time. And like last night, he was 7 assists and no turnovers. So that certainly has gotten way better.
Curious for your take of Utah beating BYU in overtime.
I was not necessarily surprised. I figured that Utah has the ability to score a little better. I think BYU's biggest issue right now is they just are having the hardest time. Richie Saunders has proved he can score. But when you have a guy like Yegor who's got the ball in his hands so much, and it's very rare when he scores right now. And, so I think I like BYU defensively, to a certain extent, but their offense is really struggling, and that's what's going to have to click for them. They've got to be able to score more than, they got to score more than 60-something points on the road to win a game. And they've got a tough one tonight. I mean, they're playing at Colorado. Colorado has not won a league game. But those teams are so dangerous when they kind of smell blood of a team coming in. They're looking for their own. So this is an opportunity, but it's also, it could be an opportunity for a tough night. BYU's got to be locked in, and I think they've just got to be a little more free-flowing offensively from where I sit.
Coach, you are the best. Thank you for coming on with us, and I very much look forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Well, that's decide if I decide to show up this time.
That's a good point. I think it was a slip of the tongue. Come on.
Hey, was the skiing good? Was the time with the kids good?
No, it was a disaster.
It was quite cold, too. Quite cold.
I can't wait to hear the stories. I love a family outing with the Scots that turns into a disaster.
It happens more than it should. Yeah. Thank you, Tim.
Yep. See you guys.
See you, buddy.